Welcome inside the Hall of Fame. I'm Booker T, six-time world heavyweight champion, two-time Hall of Famer. Got my man Brad Gilmore here with me, and we're ready to go, man. I had a hell of a weekend, but first and foremost, how you guys doing out there? Let us know where you're coming from, and we might let you inside the Hall of Fame. We might let you get your piece of the action.
Get your what?
Wishes and caviar dreams.
Yes.
Yeah, Bradley. How you doing, dog? What's going on?
Hey, I'm good, Book. I'm good, Book. You know, we had a series of fun shows last week. It was one of these Mondays where I was like, oh man, yeah, we got Hall of Fame tonight. I'm ready to have a little fun for the next hour and a half. But yeah, definitely shout out where y'all are in the chat. Put your location, GPS it, put your coordinates so we can see where you're listening or watching from around the entire world. Like right now, Camp Atsugi, Japan right now is in the building. Japan's in the building.
Hey, Simose.
Japan's in the building. Chicago's in the building. San Antonio's in the building. Booker T loves some Robin Leach is in the building.
Hey, man, you know it.
Wichita, Kansas. Youngstown, New York. Kansas, Midwest, Columbus, Ohio. Paris, Texas. They're all across the world, Booker T.
Terry Funk Country, Texas. Hey, you know what I mean?
Canada.
Everything's everything, man. But I went to the beach yesterday, man. Went down to Galveston, just for a day at the beach.
Yeah.
Just to hang out on the seawall. Parked the Winnebago right there on the seawall, and I kicked it for about 6 hours. Hoverboards. It was monster. I didn't take a bump. This time. You're the only one who's ever seen me really outside of Chris Jericho and a couple other guys that's seen me take a bump on the hoverboard. But nah, man, we had a good time. Went down there, parked right by Pizza Hut and chopped it up, man. I even got me a small hamburger and Canadian bacon pizza and ate the whole thing, man. I said, man, I'm going splurging today. I ain't thinking about, my waistline. I'm just going I'm going all out. And these days, man, I don't know why I'm thinking about my waistline because I ain't never putting on a pair of trunks ever again. You know what I mean? Even if I wrestle.
I don't want to hear that.
I
don't want to hear that.
The thing is, even if I wrestle, you know what I mean? I won't put trunks on. Gonna be putting jeans on. It's gonna be something. But
I was about to say
you can forget about that.
You retired the Spinaroonie like 4 years ago on the air. You said the Spinaroonie's over with, and then I'm not gonna lie to you. It was like 3 months later. There was like a WrestleMania launch party in Dallas, and there you were, Spinaroonie in front of the crowd, and you came out. I said, "Book, what do you mean? You retired the Spinaroonie? It was done." He's like, no. I mean, the people wanted it.
You get the itch. It was enough people out there, to give it to them. But I pulled my groin about a month ago, man, and I might really have to, seriously retire the Spinaroonie for good. No, I'm telling you, man, it's gonna take a big check. Because I'm scared to do it because I don't know what would happen, if I tried it right now. I'm saying something might just pop. You know what I mean? If something pop, the thing is, it's gonna be like Chris Weidman. It's gonna be too late if it pop. You know what I'm saying? So I
don't wish that on you, Book. I don't wish that on anybody.
I'm serious, man. I'm not looking forward to doing something in the ring, thinking I'm 25 again, 30. So that's what happened with most of these old guys. That's what happens. Most of them get the itch and think, oh, man, I can still do this. Just like, say, for instance, they go out drinking. We meet up, WrestleMania, bunch of the old boys get together. Everybody want to throw back a few like we did back in the day. Something might happen. Let's just say that.
Something might.
We can't do it like that no more. So you got to, do it in moderation. Do things.
Slow and steady. Easy. Slow and steady wins the race.
Take a nap. Just take a nap.
How does Flair do it?
You know what, man? I was just wondering that just yesterday. I was looking at the new commercial that Ric Flair has, and he still got just as much energy. He's still just as quick wit. I mean, I can sit down and have a conversation with Ric Flair, and he's definitely coherent, maybe even more so than I am sometimes. No, I'm serious. It's just amazing just to see how intellectual he still is, at this stage of the game, man, I admire the dude, bro. I really do, because to be a guy who is definitely ain't shy about saying how hard he rode, and still to be able to talk about it, man, it's amazing. It really is.
I mean, it's kind of weird. He's also like, he's kind of transcended wrestling a little bit, right? Ric Flair has. He's a hip hop icon now in some ways. They wanted him at the Triller fight just to sit there and be Ric Flair and watch a slap boxing match.
I hope I'm like that, man. I hope they treat me like that. You know what I mean? One day.
I mean, well, you're already in the hip hop game, right, with Bad Bunny. But the thing with Flair, it was so funny when that slap boxing fight was going on, and he was like, "That's all you got? I can take that." Woo! It's just egging these guys on. He's kind of like the new Hugh Hef in a way. You know how like Hef was just a cool old dude who was still fly,
and he's still all about the party.
All about the party.
You know what I mean? If it's a party, going down, no matter what it is, man, no matter what it is, it could be Wale's, night, WrestleMania night, Ric Flair show up, Wale Mania, stuff like that. And for that dude still to be, and how many times you remember I always say, you got to know how to change the levels. You got to know how to go with the times. Ric Flair definitely has been one of those guys who have been able to keep up and understand what, the next generation is doing, and then say, hey, man, let me see if I can get a piece of the action. You know what I mean? You feel what I mean? Let me see if I can get a little champagne wishes, a little caviar dreams, bro. Just break me off a little something proper like. You understand what I'm saying? That's the way I try to roll too. I try to always put myself in that position of where, just like hanging out, with you guys, debonair night.
That was fun.
And all the young ladies, they trying to get with me. You understand?
Sure, I saw it with my own eyes.
So let me have to I got to put myself in that realm in order for that to happen. So I stress to these old cats, man. Figure out how the game works.
Well, can I say this is why Ric Flair has, he has so much swag. He's not even really aware of his Ric Flair drip. I don't know if you saw this picture that was going around of Rick. I don't know, maybe like 6-7 months ago. He did an interview with Steve Austin on the Broken Skull sessions.
Yeah.
And this picture started to go around. I'm going to share it so that we can all see it as well. This was the picture going around of Ric Flair. Let's see. Here it is. So I don't know if you can tell what's funny about this picture. But if you look on Rick's left wrist, he's wearing a Rolex and an Apple Watch on the same wrist. Let's zoom in on that. He's got a Rolex and the Apple Watch on the same wrist.
Oh, man.
Just styling and profiling is Ric Flair.
Man. It's real, man. So, you know what they say about Ric Flair back in the day? They say that's the real boy there. You know what I mean? That's the real boy. And he's still that dude, man. You know what I mean? Just look at that photo there. He got that jacket playing real hard. You know what I mean? He's still, intact. He got the diamond ring on, diamond bracelet. He's no matter what, happens, a bomb could drop, man. He's still gonna be Ric Flair. Yeah. And that's the beauty of putting in the work and coming out on the other side and being able to enjoy a little bit of the fruits of the labor. And the brother got he spent a lot of money. You know what I mean? Tax man took a lot of it. Ex-wives. He'll tell you. I mean, how many was it? 5 ex-wives?
Something like that.
You know what I mean? Took a lot of it, but no one will ever be able to say that the Nature Boy Ric Flair did not enjoy this life to the fullest. Like one of my homeboys used to say, actually one of my cellmates used to say, to the utmost, baby.
That came from a cellmate? I didn't know that.
That was from one of my cellmates back to the utmost, baby. I used to like that. Hey, man, Chevalier, that was a big shout out. Hey, guys, stick around. You're in the Hall of Fame. We'll be back in a minute. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Booker T, 6-time world champ, 2-time Hall of Famer, and this is for all up-and-coming professional wrestlers, male and female. You want to know the ins and outs, the do's and don'ts. You got a question, I got the answer. If you want to know how, join my masterclass. Go to realityandwrestling.com for all the information. Starting on Thursday and every Thursday after that, guys. Don't miss out. Don't get shut out. And I know you can dig that.
The Academy.
Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, guys. We are getting ready to keep this thing rolling. You know what, man? I don't know if you guys watched the UFC this weekend. I don't know if you guys watched the boxing extravaganza that went down this weekend as well. The fight actually was on pay-per-view. Andy Ruiz Jr. versus Chris Arreola. What a fight. What a night. What a fight. More important than anything, man. You know me, man. I'm all about the pugilist. You know, I'm all about the guy that's going to go in there and literally stand across from that man or that woman and say, hey, right here. Let's throw hands. And I tell you, what a night, man. What a night. UFC fight night. Man, Dominic Reyes seemed to have run into a buzzsaw. And my thing is this, man. Let me just get this straight. I'm a huge fan of the sport. Every time I go to work and the boys are around, you know, I'm talking UFC and they always, you know, talk, man, you don't miss it. You know, and my thing is, I try not to miss it. But this weekend's fight night that was coming up, I really didn't pay a whole lot of mind to it just because the only person I really knew was Dominic Reyes. I wouldn't say the only one that was, you know, touted, you know what I mean, as far as being in there with someone else that I knew, like a Jon Jones. I had a little bit of stock in it, so I said I want to catch this main event and see exactly what Dominic Reyes, you know, is going to be bringing to the table. Now, help me, Brad, with the brother. I don't want to pronounce the guy's name incorrectly, but I do want to make sure everybody look at us like a serious media outlet.
Don't make me do this.
No, is the first name Yuri?
No, it's definitely Yuri.
Yuri Prochaska.
Prochaska? Yuri Prochaska?
Yeah. I tell you, I didn't know a whole lot about this dude, man, but I tell you, that's a guy. I don't care, you know, if it's Dominic Reyes. I don't care if it's, you know, Stipe Miocic. I'm serious. I don't care if it's Daniel Cormier. They're gonna have some problems with a guy like that.
Well, do you remember when he fought what's his name? Last year, because it was on the first card that they did back. He fought Ozdemir. And he knocked him out. I don't know if you remember that, but he knocked him out cold.
He didn't have the hair like that though. Yeah,
his hair was his hair was different. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hair was different, but I remember the name.
I tell you, I didn't know a whole lot about him, but the guy was nonstop action. He was you know, what I call the wrecking ball.
For sure.
I mean, whatever he, you know, threw, it had bad intentions. And I tell you, Dominic Reyes, he seemed to be weathering the storm, but he seemed to be in trouble every second of that fight. It seemed like something could have happened. It seemed like, you know, he felt he was trying to find himself as well and defend at the same time. And that's what I was like, man, this guy, you know, he's coming to work. He's coming to work. You know, so my thing is, I don't know. I did not see the fight ending the way it did, but I did not see it going the distance as well. One elbow, literally transitioning to another elbow, which connects, and bam, brother, it's lights out city. And it was dead. It was scary, the knockout, more so than anything, to me. But that's what the UFC is.
It was pretty frightening, I will say. I mean, that spinning back elbow, which I can't remember the last time, or if I've ever seen a spinning back elbow where somebody went out just like that. I mean, it was pretty vicious. You know, people were comparing it to Chris Jericho's new finish in AEW, that Judas effect. Nevertheless, Dominic Reyes, he was out on Impact. It wasn't like he went out on his way down. As soon as that elbow, that tip of that elbow hit him upside the temple, he went night-night. He was asleep. It was a spectacular knockout, but it was like, when I think about the Kamaru Jorge Masvidal knockout, it was beautiful, right? It was beautiful, and even Jorge Masvidal said, "Man, I'm a big fan of that punch that he threw, because it was just a beautifully set up punch." This spinning back elbow was beautiful too, but it was one of those knockouts to where it was so vicious and so violent that you almost can't look at it again. Do you know what I mean?
No.
It was a rough watch for me, because getting hit. Because here's the thing: the fists are one thing. The fist had padding on them, right? Yeah. That elbow has no padding, and that elbow is about 10 times as hard as your knuckles are. And getting hit with that thing upside the head, you could die. That's something you can die from.
No, I mean, it's the fight game, bro. It really
I'm aware. I'm just saying it's vicious.
It's not like you jump in there and thinking, it's anything other than. That's why I talk about, how these guys been training since they were, I wouldn't say for forever, but a lot of these guys been training for a long time, as far as the fight game. And it's not something that you and I could just go in there and think we can have a chance at beating one of these guys, because they're professionals. Right. I think if they was to have a legitimate fight with someone on the street, and that one guy that, just was a novice, end up getting, killed, just say that MMA fighter is going to be looked at as a deadly weapon. I mean, that's what these guys are. And when I see a knockout like the Reyes fight, God, I go, wow. You got to love it. It's got to be in your blood. It's the nature of the beast. That's what I always talk about. It's the nature of the beast in man, to go out and want to do something like that. Come on. That's not something that every average, run of the mill guy wake up wanting to do. Get in the cage and look across from another guy and go, let's fight. That's
not an average person thing.
As many fights that I've been in my life, as a kid, it was cool. It was kind of fun. But, somebody was going to jump in and stop us. Break it up.
At some point, it'll only go about 25 seconds.
Oh, it wasn't going long at all, for somebody to jump in and break it up. And then you got bragging rights if you did win. You know what I mean?
So I was kicking his ass in those first 5 seconds.
Exactly. But this game right here, man, it's literally the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. It really, truly is.
But with Dominic Reyes, this is a guy that you and I put eyes on in person and saw him at the UFC 20 whatever it was, or 2 whatever it was, in Houston just a very short time ago in February of last year. I believe that Jon Jones fight was. And to see him go from a fight where we thought that he beat the unbeatable, right, and world championship fight, to then fight Jan and just get wrecked. Right, just get wrecked by Jan Blachowicz, and then to fight Yuri, who was a guy whose last fight, I believe, was on the prelims of a UFC pay-per-view. It doesn't speak a lot now for where Dominic Reyes' trajectory is. He's not sniffing a world title shot anytime soon.
No, I mean, of course not. But I look back at the very, very simple comment that Jon Jones made after the Blachowicz fight. And everybody really put Dominic Reyes at a very, very high level after the Jon Jones fight, and then after the mayhem and destruction of Blachowicz. I don't know if you remember, Jon Jones tweeted out, "It ain't so easy, is it?"
Yeah.
You know, so to go in there and do that with Jon Jones is one thing, and then put yourself on the map, and then really have to go out there and defend yourself and see what happens. It really goes to show you how good Jon Jones is. If perhaps Jon Jones step back in the realm and show Blachowicz, exactly what it means to be the light heavyweight champion, or as well this guy. Yuri, you know what I mean? Throw the name. It's some killers in there that I would love to see if Jon Jones still had that dog in him to go out there and be able to run that gambit on those type of guys like that. But me personally, I don't know if I really don't know if Jon Jones want to even think about or even entertain taking a route like that to get back in this game. I think Jon Jones said, "Man, look, I'm coming to get some paper, baby, and then we can talk after that." I don't know. What do you think, man? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Jon Jones's only goal right now is to get paid as much money as completely possible to fight Francis Ngannou, which would be one of the top 5 biggest fights in UFC history. So, Jon is right, though. It's not so easy, is it, Dom? I mean, Dominic Reyes, you can look. It must have been some in the water down here in Texas. Maybe he was sipping on some of that dirty Sprite, and it gave him a little extra something that night.
He got a lot of his people down here, man. A lot of the Mexican people down here,
Sure.
that back you and give you that extra, get up and go, that 6-man effect. You know what I mean? So could have been that. Guys, stick around. You're in the Hall of Fame. We'll be back in a minute.
And that's a stunning elbow to the face. Oh, and look at this. She just raking Angela's face across the middle. Oh, my goodness. That's hard to watch.
Oh, man, what does she think?
Oh, no. Top rope suplex. Superplex from the champion. If enough damage hasn't been done already to Angela, that has got to be the exclamation point. She's looking for the 450. Oh! From the top rope. She's calling for shooting star press. Star press. Shooting star press cover. 1, 2, 3.
Shoop. Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame. Got you that time, right? Hey, man, I want to let everybody know if they want to get one of these traditional wife beaters that I got on, man. I'm going to make sure I hook you guys up with the info, you know what I mean? Because everybody been asking, man, I got to get me one of them wife beaters like Booker T got. And but I'm going to get the logo put on them. I'm going to get the 5-time logo on them. I'm going to start selling them. Jack the price up a little bit on them, so get ready. They coming, all right?
So do people still call them wife beaters? Is that still okay to call them in 2021?
Why not?
I called it that the other day, and then I felt weird saying it.
Bro, I think women want you to call them wife beaters.
I don't think that at all. You're too much, man.
Serious,
by
man.
the way,
That's what my wife, I'm going to tell you right now, that's what my wife called them.
You're a crazy individual. Hey, by the way, I got clarification. Zeta Ramir. Yeah, Zeta Ramir.
That's still close to
Ramirez. It's just without the Z.
Yeah,
Zeta Ramir. Anyway, we were talking about the UFC stuff and going down, but we had a big super chat that I wanted to throw your way. Nate Dogg coming with the $20 super chat.
Boom.
Appreciate you, Nate. He said, Booker, what's the worst shoot fight you ever saw in wrestling, either in the ring or backstage? Now, In my time as being a wrestling fan, you've heard about some of these, whether it be the Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar shoot fight. I think you and Eddie may have shot. Is that right? You and Eddie may have had something back in the day.
No, we didn't actually get into fisticuffs or hands on or anything like that.
I remember hearing a story from Chris Jericho where him and Goldberg got into it.
Yeah.
I remember hearing a story from Chris Jericho where Kofi Kingston and Vince McMahon got into it on the corporate jet. There's a lot of stories out there, but what is one that comes to your mind?
Man, shoot fight in the business. Man, I was there, for like some of the Brock Lesnar stuff.
So he and Angle really wanted to try each other.
Well, one of the best ones, I think, there's I don't know if anybody ever told it, but Kurt Angle and Daniel Puder.
Oh no,
that was one that one was actually pretty good. And a lot of people don't talk about it too much, just out of respect. Kurt Angle, Olympic gold medalist. You don't want to talk about that. But Daniel Puder was pretty good that day. But I think Ernest the Cat Miller and Buff Bagwell. I think that was a good one right there.
Ernest and Buff.
Yeah, Ernest.
What happened? What was that about?
I think I think Cat Miller was actually dating, not dating, but hanging out with his ex-wife. And Bagwell was pretty hot about it. We was we were in Sturgis, South Dakota.
Oh,
I never forget it. And because we were outside at this table. Everything was outside at Sturgis. It was nothing, inside because it was outside show and whatnot. We had the catering set up outside, and I remember Cat Miller had sit down, and then Buff Bagwell, was going to try to sneak shot him. And he came over to sneak shot Ernest the Cat Miller. And Ernest the Cat Miller, people don't know, man, this dude's the real deal.
Legit, yeah.
Like Black Belt Jones, something like that. And he moved so quick on Bagwell and blocked it and was on him so fast. Bagwell couldn't wait for somebody to break it up. It was one of those type of deals. Or, no, this is the best one right here. The best one, I think, was Diamond Dallas Page and Buff Bagwell was trying to create an angle, and they was acting like they were like going to fight in catering. And both of them started, like jaw-jacking back and forth real hard, and then they start fighting each other, but it was like a work shoot, and nobody broke it up. They finally stopped and realized they just ribbed themselves. I think that was the best one out of them all. Yeah.
That had to have been Dallas's idea.
You got to tell you that story right there.
We got to have Dallas on to hear this. It's got to be his idea. That was definitely a Dallas Page idea.
Oh, man.
You talk about Brock, and I definitely always heard the stories of him and Angle trying to figure out which was the better, amateur wrestler. But one of those Brock stories that I heard was that Brock, Brock, and this was out there. I think Bruce told this story. So if you want to heat, throw it on Bruce. But I think it was Brock and Mark Marrow. Right, we're gonna go at it because of what happened. With between Mark Marrow's ex-wife is now Brock Lesnar's current wife, Sable. Right, but I guess Mark Marrow had heard Sable's now dating somebody else's one of the boys, so he shows up to the building in whatever town that I guess they were close to. He shows up at the building and he's like, "Look, I'm gonna find this guy and I'm gonna give him a piece of my mind and let him know what time it is. I'm Mark Marrow, Golden Glove boxer." You know what I mean? I'm not going to be playing around. So he gets to the building. He's like, "Hey, where's this Brock guy?" And they're like, "Oh, I think I saw him in catering." Mark Marrow goes, "I go down to catering to find him. I go in. I say, 'Hey, where's this Brock guy?' Somebody points him out to me. And he goes, it was in that moment that I learned the power of forgiveness." I don't want any parts of that.
You can have it, bro.
All you, hey, respect.
We're not going down that road. Oh man, it's great.
So I'd like to know more. I mean, people in the chat are talking about some of them. What the Daniel Puder thing? To go back to him, What was up with that time in the Rumble where everybody was I mean, do you remember this? Were you? I think you were there at the time.
I think they were just baptizing him. You know
that
what
was
I mean?
baptism by fire.
I think he was getting the rookie treatment. I don't think I was one of those guys that
No, it was like Eddie, Benoit, and Holly.
Yeah. I think he was just getting baptized, and just showing that, the business go a certain way. And the thing is, Daniel Puder, he came from the reality TV world.
It was Tough Enough, right?
Yeah. He wasn't like a guy who, came up wanting to do this or anything like that. And that happens with a lot of the, guys that, come from one reality show to another reality show, and then boom, happen to make it on one of the reality shows, which is professional wrestling. And then you get in and you realize, the $100,000 contract was a gimmick.
$100,000 over 10 years.
This is wrestling. We just said that. It's like fake news.
You don't really weigh 256 pounds either.
They just don't know. And then they get in, and then they realize, wait a minute, that's something I, bought in for. Types one of those type of deals. I could be wrong.
I won't say who it is, but it was right when I first started reality wrestling. I went up to one of the guys because I'd go up when I was doing the ring announcing. I'd ask them their name, hometown, what their weight was. Right. I remember going up to one of the guys, and he had a frame a little bit similar to mine. He maybe had a little bit more musculature. And I said, how much, what's your weight? And he goes, 273. And I said, 273 pounds. He's like, yeah. I was like, okay, that doesn't seem accurate to me. Doesn't seem accurate to me at all.
Oh my God.
273. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh, okay. So this is wrestling. I get it now. So that's Daniel Puder had to realize that $100,000 contract, it was just on the marquee.
It might have been $1 million contract.
You know what? I think you're right. I think it was $1 million.
I think it was $1 million contract.
I think you're right.
I think he got there and realized, wait a minute, what happened to the $1 million? That's not what you guys, like it's the wrestling business, man. It's the wrestling business. You got to figure this thing out. It's almost like OJT, on the job training. Yeah.
Real quick, couple of super chats before we go to break here. RDAB coming with another $5. Appreciate you, RD. Reyes didn't seem too disappointed or angry that Jones was awarded the victory. I think that he took his success against Jones for granted. Now, look, I think I remember him being pretty pissed that he didn't get the decision.
He was really, really upset. And everybody in the arena was. We all thought he won that fight. But thinking you're better than you actually are because of that fight, that may be true. Because everybody was on the Dominic Reyes bandwagon. Everybody literally looked at Jon Jones like, and maybe he ain't, maybe he ain't got it no more, or maybe Dominic Reyes is just that damn good. So that what I call it, man, that cloak of invincibility, that sense of, that like I said, you're better than you actually really are. And when we talk about the UFC, when we talk about boxing, when we talk about wrestling, I'm talking about Olympic caliber wrestling. It's levels of it. And I watch these Olympic caliber wrestlers, man. I've been watching, that's trying out to go to the Olympics. Man, I remember when we had Kurt Angle on the show, and the question was asked, Kurt Angle, if he could do it all over again. Kurt said, man, he wouldn't do it. He said, I couldn't do it over again. It was too hard. Thinking about it in hindsight, having to put yourself through that rigorous training, that sense of being able to put blinders on and close everything out and focus on one thing only, and that's being an Olympic gold medalist for all of those years. It's got to take something out of you, even if you don't make it. But just think about it when you do. Guys, stick around. You're in the Hall of Fame. We'll be back in a minute.
Brian, I know you're actually one of the most underrated talents that's ever been inside a reality wrestling ring, but you're not the talent. Me beating you, becoming the greatest reality wrestling champion, it's not personal. It's inevitable.
Brian King! cover. 1, 2.
He did it!
Dreams do come true.
This is the bounty of all bounties. Are you ready to cowboy up?
Brian Keith, after all these years, cashing in and becoming the new Reality of Wrestling heavyweight champion. It was an awesome night. But this business, guys, has always been built on rematches.
You want your rematch? I'm a fighting champion.
You don't work hard like I do. You don't want this like I do. What do you want? Family? I'll bring your snot-nosed kids, your wife, your old ass.
I just want to let both of you guys know something. This match will be held inside the steel cage.
Lives get changed inside that match. Inside that structure, no one comes out the same.
Will history repeat itself? Will lightning strike twice?
Brian Keith is 15 feet in the air. Brian Keith from up top. Unbelievable cover. No, Brian.
And Ryan Davidson, I'm here to answer the call.
You get mauled.
Shoop. Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, guys. Hey, man, I want to appreciate I want to thank you guys for the super chats. Always can use a little bit of help here and there. Always need a new one of these here and there as well. So keep it rolling. Keep it rolling. Keep the comments coming in as well. I don't know if you guys got a chance to check out the PBC this week. Pay-per-view, all Mexican extravaganza. Andy Ruiz Jr. versus Chris Arreola. Omar Figueroa versus Abel Ramos, as well as Sebastian Fundora versus Jorge Cota. Those three fights I want to talk about more than anything, man. As well as Arislan Lara got a knockout earlier. Actually, that fight was on Fox, regular free television. So, guys, boxing, my passion, my heart, the art of pugilism. Is something that I grew up loving for many, many years. And I tell you, the reason I want to talk about this card is because this was like a throwback of what fighting used to be all about. It was about going out there and what these guys was like, they put, a tire in the middle of the ring. You put your left foot in, I put my left foot in, and don't nobody move. We're going toe to toe all night long until somebody drop. We're going to get the people what they want to see. Now, Sebastian Fundora. Now, this guy's 154 pounds and he's 6'6" tall. Okay. Now, to say the least, Jorge Cota was fighting an uphill battle, no pun intended. But Cota came to fight. He literally bit down on his mouthpiece and threw punches and say, man, I'm going out on my shield. I'm going to get you out of here, young man. Fundora pulled it out. The referee had to have the wherewithal, the understanding and know-how to do his job, step in there and just stop it. But it was a great fight. Now, Omar Figueroa Jr. versus Abel Ramos, 12-round WBC welterweight title eliminator. Now, this fight right here, everybody know the name Figueroa Jr. just because he's been a guy out there and he's made his name out for going out there and being a boxer, a pure boxer, not a guy that's got heavy hands or anything like that, not a guy that's going to go out there and get you out with one punch or anything like that, but a multitude, a plethora of shots over and over and over. That's what this guy has always been about. But he ran up against a guy by the name of Yordanis Ugas last year sometime, and Ugas knocked him out cold, just stopped him. The referee had to do his job. But Omar said, I'm back. I'm changing things up, and I'm going to go out here and show the world. I let you guys down. Abel Ramos is a guy that has fought, at a very, very high level for a long time, not getting that high praise of a Omar Figueroa. But this is where, you get your piece of the action. This is where you get your champagne wishes and caviar dreams, when you can step in and get a victory. And I tell you, Omar Figueroa, I don't know what kind of style he brought to the game, but it was definitely awkward. But I guess around 7-8, Abel Ramos hit him with so many shots throughout the course of that fight. Had to stop it with Omar Figueroa on the stool, literally spitting up blood internally. He was bruised internally throughout the course of that fight. I mean, was it a great fight? Of course, to see these guys go in there and go toe to toe like they did, nobody took a step back or anything like that. It was unbelievable fight. But as far as who's moving on to the next round, Abel Ramos, congratulations, my brother. Andy Ruiz Jr., Chris Arreola, 12-round WBC heavyweight championship eliminator as well. And I tell you, Andy Ruiz Jr., he came in shape. He came in at the lightest weight that he has come in quite some time. Looked like a transformation of the body. Somebody really put in the work. Congratulations, Andy Ruiz, on that side right there. Chris Arreola coming in. They're a guy that once was touted to be Andy Ruiz Jr., a guy that they thought was going to be, the Mexican that was going to move on and become heavyweight champion. But now at 40 years old, a journeyman. Is he a guy that they're putting Andy in just to get a win and get this kid to the next level, and hopefully he can get the title back around his waist one more time? Of course, that's what it was all about. But Chris Arreola said, I'm going to be the fly in the ointment. I'm going to be the monkey in the wrench. It was one of those nights, and I tell you, round one, Andy Ruiz Jr., you can see everything just imploding, everything just going out of the window. When Andy Ruiz Jr. took that shot to the temple, going down, it was almost like Anthony Joshua going down. It was a lot of money on the table right there, but Andy Ruiz Jr., like a champion, he pulled himself together. 12-round unanimous decision. But like I say, man, what a night, what a fight of boxing. Hopefully, PBC put a few more on, like they did this past weekend, because I tell you, man, it was a great night of boxing.
Andy Ruiz, we talked about him leading up to that, and you said that Chris Arreola was going to be one of those guys who's going to test him, really push him, and he did. There were a few times where he looked like he could have been in trouble. Getting the victory, though, here for Andy, where does this put him now? Where does this put him back on the path of the conversation, or is he even in the conversation? One of the RDAB just came with a $2 super chat saying, I hope that Andrew Ruiz versus Deontay Wilder is next. I mean, we still know that Wilder and Fury is looming out there with that rematch clause. Let me ask you this. Would Andy Ruiz versus Deontay Wilder be a good idea?
I'm going to tell you right now, RDAB, that's a really, really good, matchup right there. Just because we gotta understand, where is Deontay Wilder right now? How good is Andy Ruiz Jr.? Can Andy Ruiz, if Andy Ruiz Jr., we know he beat Anthony Joshua.
Sure.
Okay, that wasn't I'm not going to call that a fluke or anything like that, but he was like Serge Nabray in 1972 Olympia. He was an unexpected entry. All right. He wasn't even supposed to be in that fight. But that's the way things happen, and the luck just happened to fall. We really don't know how good he really is. If he can get past a Deontay Wilder, if he can go out there and stop Deontay Wilder, that would tell us a whole lot. If he could beat Deontay Wilder, that would tell us a whole lot as well. My thing with Andy Ruiz Jr., even though he stopped Anthony Joshua, I do not see Andy Ruiz Jr. being a KO puncher. I don't see him being that heavy-handed or anything like that. He got a lot of speed for a guy that size. His hands move, sometimes, in fashion where you don't even think a man that big could move that quick, seriously. But it doesn't seem like, I could be wrong because I never got hit by him. It doesn't seem like he's packing a whole lot of a wallop behind that punch, so him and Deontay Wilder, that would be a great matchup just to see what Deontay Wilder is as far as, his last outing, because, more than his physical Deontay Wilder, his mental, that's what we got to think about Deontay, especially after beating that Fury gave him, because we was there, we watched it, and I was in shock, in awe, wondering what the hell is going on with all these Englishmen in the house going crazy as well. But that would be a great matchup.
I still remember, and I'm gonna put you on blast for this book. Every time somebody walked by who was from Europe, we were at the MGM Grand. Anytime somebody walked by and they're like, "Hey, Booker, how's it going, Booker? Who you got in the fight?" Every time you go, "I got Fury." when everyone knows you had Wilder, but every Englishman or Irishman or Scot walked by, "I got Fury," and you'd say it like an English accent.
I ain't got time to be getting into the riff. You know what I mean? I ain't finna find myself on the news. You know what I mean? Booker T gets into it with a fan. Who's gonna win the fight, Fury or Wilder? Just go ahead and go with it. It's not gonna hurt you. It's not gonna hurt you. Make the guy feel good for a second. You know what I mean? He probably even know you're lying, but ain't nobody gonna cause no trouble. And that's what I'm thinking about first and foremost, not getting in any trouble. But there again, man. Awesome fight card, man. We got to take a break here in a second, but we're going to come back, man. I made some news last week talking about AEW, Impact. Well, we got to talk about it. And we're going to talk about it right here inside the Hall of Fame. You guys got some questions, comments on that as well. Let me hear it, man. Let me hear it. Because I always put an asterisk by things and say, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But I'm not. Stick around. We'll be back in a minute. Can you dig it, you sucker? You know how WWE is, man. You're on the road, you're on the road. Like, you're working your ass off, right? Mm-hmm. So I happened to have a Sunday off, and I was sitting at home, and I had literally an ice bag on both knees, and then my bell on my gate, bell just started going off, over and over and over, right? And I'm like, what the hell? What the? So I jumped up, the ice bags flew everywhere, right? And I go out, open my door, I go, who is it? And they go, it's Booker T here. I said, oh, hell. So I walked to the door and I said, God, get away from here, God. This is my house, And literally it was an 18-year-old and like a 19-year-old. One was on a mini bike and one was on a go-kart. One of them goes, we want some autographs. I said, get out of here. He said, well, F you then, N-word. And boom, literally. I was so mad, right? They took off on the go-kart in the mini bike. It literally, my head is fuming. I go and jump into my Hummer, right? Charmel's like, baby, no, don't do it, baby, stop. So I'm like, no. I jumped in, roll out of the gate, right? I go down the street. I look both ways. I couldn't see him, right? And I just said, I'm going to take a guess and go right. So I went right, went down a little bit, and I saw both of them, okay? And I was like, oh, I got him now. Now, the one on the mini bike, it was a little ditch area. He got through that ditch area. The Hummer couldn't get there. The one on the go-kart, he tried to go. I blocked him off. Now, he turns around, and he's in these people's yard. In this yard that this go-kart is in is probably a couple of $1 million house. He starts doing donuts in these people's front yard. Dirt, grass going everywhere. And I know these people were so upset when they came outside that next morning. What the hell? So he comes out on the street. He rolls down the street a little bit. I get behind him in the Hummer. I'm on him like this, right? Rolling down the street. So he gets scared. So he goes in some more people's yard and he goes a little ditch. And the chain comes off the go-kart. I commenced to power walk towards him. I said, you better not run. I grab him by the back of the head, takes him to my Hummer, tosses him in. I get in the Hummer, and I go, okay, now call me the N-word now. And then he was so scared. And he said, I'm sorry, my friend. Oh, God. I said, okay, I'll tell you what. You're going to take me to your house right now because I want to talk to your parents and tell them exactly what you said to me, right? So we're literally about no more than 2 blocks away. Before I got him a block towards where we were going to, there was several police cars behind me.
Pull over now!
A brother walking in the neighborhood late. Something could happen. Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, guys. I tell you, I haven't been able to sleep properly these last few days, man. And
What's been going on, boy?
nah, man, all the stuff on the internet. You know, I try to stay off the internet. I try not to look at too many things, but I tell you, man, sometimes I must say it breaks my heart, you know. And I'm just gonna, hell, I mean, I got feelings too, you know what I mean? You know, people always got comments and whatnot, but my opinion, okay, I was just making an opinion about Impact, AEW World Champion, Kenny Omega going over to Impact, winning the Impact World Championship. I just did not think it was a good idea, beating Rich Swann. I just did not think it was a good idea from a company perspective. And now, not only do I think, you know, that wasn't a good idea. Chris Jericho was talking. The question was asked about an invasion angle between Impact and AEW, and he said he didn't think that would be a good idea at all, due to some of the same reasons. I did not think it was a good idea to, you know, put the title on a guy from another company. I just did not think it was a good idea. Now, am I wrong, or is Chris Jericho wrong? Now, Chris Jericho could have been, you know, in character. He could have been, you know, playing a role. But his comments were he was never going to be seen inside of an Impact ring in front of an empty arena. It's never going to happen. And me personally, I don't think, I mean, I could be there again. I could be wrong. I don't think Chris Jericho bought in to go into AEW to go work for Impact. That's a totally different contract. A whole totally different thing. I have no 100%. Time to even entertain something like that, you know, unless I was one of the executive producers or, you know, executive vice presidents, like, you know, they got a few of those, you know what I mean? If I'm getting one of those type of checks, you know, where I'm taking one for the team, you know, something like that, you know what I mean? But now, am I wrong, or is Chris Jericho wrong?
Well, I mean, you know, you and I agreed on this last week in regards to a few things. But first off, why don't just to put this in context, why don't we, if you don't mind, I'm gonna read exactly what Jericho said. This is an interview that he gave to comicbook.com. He said, I think our involvement with Impact has been pretty much what it should be. I'm not saying this in an egotistical way, but AEW is at a much completely different level than Impact is. So anything that we're doing with them benefits them a lot more than it benefits us, in my opinion. And I think the fact that they've had Kenny Omega there, they've had Private Party there, that's a bonus for them. Chris Jericho will never go to Nashville and work in front of an empty studio. There's just no reason for me to do that. If those guys come over to invade, what are they going to bring? If we needed to make it big, we could. But right now, our roster is so jam-packed and we're doing such a great job of creating our own stars. You could always do an invasion angle at some point, but I just don't see why that really benefits AEW. I want to keep the focus and the spotlight on our talent, is what he said. So I definitely agree with him. I mean, it doesn't benefit them. Honestly, can I be honest? Other than popping a rating and maybe getting people talking with, you know, Rich Swann and Kenny Omega, I don't think any of it's beneficial. It was a cool moment when Kenny won the title and he was like, "You want to find out why I'm with Don Callis? Tune in to Impact this Tuesday." That was a cool moment where they walked through the backstage and jumped in the limo and went off. Got me going, oh, that's interesting. But ever since then, I've had zero interest in this whole idea. And I agree with Jericho. It's not really doing a whole hell of a lot, really, for either side, in my opinion.
Well, if
anything, it benefits Impact.
It just muddies the water.
Yeah.
More than anything. I need you focused on my show, my stars, all the time. Nobody else, ever. That's just my opinion. And I just think, when people talk and say, I don't know what I'm talking about, or maybe I just should, not speak on it. Well, this is called a show. So we do.
It's a talk show.
We speak on stuff. All right. If it's newsworthy,
we're gonna talk about it.
And the thing is, you should want us to talk about it because we actually know what we're talking about, opposed to somebody who don't know what they're talking about. So that's just my opinion on that right there.
Let me ask you this though: when you talk about you want them focused on your brand, on your stores, when the XFL was around, right, in 2020. How many games did the Houston Roughnecks play against the Houston Texans? None, right? How many times have you seen the Globetrotters play an NBA team?
None.
Because it's two separate entities. It's two separate leagues. It's two separate bodies.
Well, even with boxing, just say, for instance, you got the Top Rank, you got PBC, you got Matchroom, and none of those guys fight with each other.
Right.
None of those guys play ball and go along. You know what I mean? Let's do this together. I mean, my thing is this, okay, and I'm just being real. People always say, AEW around is good for business. I think so as well. I think it's good for business. But don't think for 1 minute, as far as wanting to beat you every week, I want to win. Just like the WCW wars against WWE, the 83 weeks. Why you think it's so big? Because WCW won those 83 weeks in a row. And it wasn't about going out there and tying with WWF. It wasn't about going out there and, bringing each other up to the same level or anything like that. I don't think any fighter, if they want to be champion, want to be fighting at the same level as everyone else. It's just a fact more than anything. And speaking of facts, Chris Jericho was talking about factions. You like that segue, huh?
That was good. That was better than last week where it's like, we got to talk about boxing. Speaking of facts, Chris Jericho on factions that's a good one.
He's talking about factions. Are there too many factions, in wrestling these days to, have, so many factions overshadowed, what the faction really, could bring to, a show. What do you think about that?
I mean, if you're talking about AEW specifically, there are several factions in AEW, right? There's SCU at one point. There's Jurassic Express. There's the Pinnacle. There's the Inner Circle. There's the Dark Order. I mean, that's 5 off the top of my head.
Yeah.
That's off the top of my head. I don't know if there's any more than that. Somebody in the chat can correct me, but that's off the top of my head. That's quite a bit, right? That's quite a bit already. And there's Team Taz, right? Yeah. Team Taz. There's the Nightmare Family.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I'm up to 7. Whatever Kenny Omega's group is with Young Bucks and the Good Brothers, that's 8. You know what I mean? That's a lot of factions. When the faction to me is most effective is when maybe there's 2, but typically when there's one faction that is the focus. But you think the NWO was the main faction in WCW. Yeah, you can go to DX in WWE. Really, even going further than that. There was the Evolution, but I can only remember like one faction at a time. I don't remember multiple factions going at one point. Now, there was a time where WWE had like 4 or 5 going in the late 90s. But other than that, I think it's just too much.
Well,
The rivalry group.
I think
Other than that,
I
you don't
think
need
back
8
when
factions, right?
I think back when WWE was doing it, WWF back then. I think it was kind of cool because it was almost like a fan interaction part of the show. They knew they was going to get something, when one of the factions came out, Billy Gunn, Road Dogg, those
I
guys.
got 2 words for you.
Exactly. It seemed like it was it had a place as far as being on the show, but now, like you say, 8 factions in one company is definitely it's hard to break
Quite a
out.
bit.
No, it's hard to
lot.
break out
It's
really
too
and
much,
really
right?
put some light on
Have
yourself.
that many people going at once. It's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they'll work it out with the executive vice presidents.
That's another faction.
I think they got
The
4.
EVPs. The EVPs of
I think they got
Impact
4
Wrestling.
executive vice presidents. So maybe they'll get together and maybe work out the faction thing. But me personally, I don't think the faction thing work out. Like you say, when there's so many of them. But my thing, I never wanted to be a part of a faction. I had a chance to be a part of the NWO, one of the greatest factions of all time. But I can kind of like see where that thing was going. And for me, as a single star, wanting to break out and be on my own, do my own thing, it was definitely hard to actually. I can't see Darby Allin being in a faction. You know what I mean? I just can't. You know what I mean? Him even being with Steen bothers me a little bit. You know what I mean? But I could take that. But I don't know. What do you guys think about that? What do you? Oh yeah, you're right about that. Hey guys, stick around. You're in the Hall of Fame. We got a whole lot more for you. Actually, we'll be back in a minute.
And here we go. Oh, the rules are simple. There are very few. Oh, my God! No, winding up here.
It's been a while since I've been in the ring. A while since I've tested myself in combat. But life is a test, and the only luck is preparation.